So they shut down after your fight. They disappeared, and now you're sitting in this horrible uncertainty wondering, will they come back? Are they even thinking about me? Or are they already done?
And here's what makes it worse. Sometimes they do come back, but not always. And when they do come back, it doesn't always mean what you think it means.
A text that says, hey, after 5 days of silence. Is that repair? Or is that just breadcrumbing?
Showing up to an event you both planned weeks ago. Is that reconnection? Or are they just going through the motions?
Today, we're breaking down the 5 stages of avoidant repair so you can stop guessing and start knowing what you're actually looking at.
Because not every shutdown ends in repair. And you deserve to know the difference between an avoidant who's working their way back and one who's just keeping you on the hook while they figure out their next exit.
By the end of this video, you'll have a roadmap. You'll know what stage they're in, what to expect next, and most importantly, the red flags that mean repair isn't coming at all.
All right, before we get into the 5 stages, we need to talk about what repair actually means, because I think a lot of people are looking at the wrong thing.
When an avoidant comes back from shutdown, most anxious partners want that moment from the movies. The big apology, the heartfelt conversation where everything gets resolved. The, I was wrong, I'm so sorry, I love you.
And for avoidance, that's usually not how repair happens, at least not at first.
Remember from our last video, they shut down because their shame became overwhelming. Their firefighters took over to protect their exiles from that unbearable feeling.
So when they start to come back, those parts are still very much present. The shame is still there. The fear is still there. The firefighters are still on high alert, which means repair for an avoidant looks less like a breakthrough and more like a slow thaw. It's tentative. It's cautious. It's testing the waters to see if it's safe to come closer without triggering that collapse all over again.
And here's what's important to understand. That doesn't necessarily mean they don't care. It means they're trying to come back in a way that their nervous system can handle. But, and this is crucial, it only counts as repair if it's actually moving somewhere, if it's progressing through these 5 stages toward real connection. Because some avoidants get stuck. They come back just enough to keep you around, but not enough to actually repair anything. And that's not repair. That's a holding pattern.
So as we go through these 5 stages, pay attention to whether your avoidant is moving through them or whether they're just circling stage 1 and 2 forever.
All right, let's get into it. Stage 1.
Stage 1 is what we covered in our last video. It's complete withdrawal, full shutdown, radio silence.
This is the firefighters in total takeover. No contact, no communication, maybe not even reading your messages. And the timeline could be hours, could be days, could be weeks. It depends on the depth of their wounding and how much shame got activated.
What you need to know about stage 1 is this is not the time to pursue. This is not the time to fix it. Their system needs to calm down before anything else can happen.
And I know that this is brutal for anxious attachment. Every instinct in you is screaming to reach out, to explain, to reconnect. But pursuing them in stage 1 just resets the clock. It tells their firefighters that it's still not safe, so stay shut down.
So stage 1 is about waiting. Not waiting forever. We'll talk about that in the red flag section a little later, but waiting enough to give their system the space it needs to start settling.
Stage 2 is when you get that first sign of life. A text, a like on social media, showing up somewhere they know you'll be.
This is the managers starting to come back online. The firefighters have calmed down enough that the thinking parts can function again.
But here's the thing. Stage 2 is not reconnection. It's reconnaissance. They're testing. Is it safe to come back? Are you still mad? Is the shame cycle going to overwhelm me if I engage?
So what does stage 2 actually look like? Usually it's small, safe gestures. A meme with no context. Hey, how are you? A comment on something neutral. Asking about logistics. Did you get that package?
From the outside, this can feel like breadcrumbing, and sometimes it is. But in genuine repair, stage 2 is brief. It's a test, not a destination.
Timeline for stage 2? Usually a couple hours to a few days. They send out a feeler. They see how you respond. And if it's safe enough, they move to stage 3.
But if they get stuck here, weeks of random hey texts with no actual conversation, that's a red flag. That's not repair. That's avoidance of repair.
Stage 3 is when actual conversation starts to happen. Not deep conversation, but real engagement.
This is where their managers are more in control. And self, that centered, wise core of who you are, is starting to show up again.
So what does this look like? They're responding more fully, maybe suggesting you do something together, having actual back and forth conversations, even if they're surface level stuff.
They're not bringing up the fight yet. They're not apologizing yet, but they're present. They're engaged. They're rebuilding the connection through safe interaction.
And here's what's happening internally. Their system is checking. Can I be close to this person without shame coming back? Can we interact again without me collapsing?
So stage 3 is about rebuilding trust. Not your trust in them, but their trust in themselves, that they can be in the relationship without falling apart.
Timeline for this? Stage 3 can last anywhere from a few days to a couple weeks, depending on how severe the original rupture was.
What you're looking for in stage 3 is consistency. Are they showing up reliably? Are the interactions getting warmer, more natural, more frequent?
Because if stage 3 stays surface level forever, if you're back to regular contact but nothing ever gets deeper, that's another red flag. That's managing the relationship, not repairing it.
Stage 4 is where things start to feel more normal. The distance is gone, the warmth is back. You're spending time together like you used to.
At this point, self is much more present. The protectors have stepped back because their system feels safe enough that the exiles aren't threatening to break through.
But here's what's still missing in stage 4. You still haven't talked about what happened. The actual rupture is still sitting there, unaddressed. And for some avoidants, stage 4 feels like enough. We're good again. Why do we need to rehash the fight? Can't we just move forward?
But for real repair, for lasting change, you need stage 5. Because if you never talk about what happened, the same pattern is just going to repeat the next time there's conflict.
So in stage 4, what you're watching for is, are they moving toward readiness to have the repair conversation? Or are they trying to skip it entirely?
Signs they're moving towards stage 5. They might make small comments about the fight. I know I disappeared on you. I didn't handle that well. They're acknowledging it happened, even if they're not ready for the full conversation yet.
Timeline for stage 4? Could be days, could be weeks. But if you're stuck here for months with no movement toward actually discussing what happened, that's a red flag. Because that means they're willing to have the relationship back, but not willing to do the work to change the pattern, which means it'll happen again. And that's not sustainable.
Stage 5 is when they're actually ready to talk about what happened, to acknowledge the shutdown, to understand the impact, to discuss how to handle it differently next time.
And this is the stage where real healing happens, where the relationship doesn't just go back to baseline. It actually gets stronger. So what does stage 5 look like? They initiate the conversation, or when you bring it up, they don't deflect or shut down. They can stay present for the hard talk.
They might say things like, I know I completely withdrew and that hurts you. I want to understand what happened so I don't do that again. Can we talk about how to handle conflict better?
And here's what's happening internally. Their managers and self are strong enough that talking about the rupture doesn't immediately activate the exiles. They can reflect on their behavior without collapsing into shame. Now, this doesn't mean they're suddenly perfect at communication, or that the conversation is easy, or that they have all the answers.
But it does mean that they're willing to sit in the discomfort of addressing it. They're willing to take responsibility. They're willing to work on changing the pattern.
And that willingness is the difference between an avoidant who can grow and an avoidant who is going to keep cycling through stages 1 through 4 forever.
The timeline for getting to stage 5? From the original shutdown, we're usually looking at anywhere from a few days to a few weeks for someone who's self-aware and actively working on their attachment.
But here's the hard truth. Some avoidants never get to stage 5. They get comfortable at stage 4 and resist any attempt to go deeper. And that's when you need to make some hard decisions about what you're willing to accept.
Drop a comment below and let us know what stage you're in. We love to connect with you, and it helps others in our community feel less alone.
Before we get deeper into the red flags, for those of you new here, I'm Tehrina Terry.
And I'm Joel Terry. We're both licensed therapists. I bring the science.
And I bring the heart.
Now let's talk about the red flags that mean repair isn't actually happening.
Okay, so now you've been watching for these stages, and maybe your avoidant is stuck. Maybe they're not progressing. So let's talk about the red flags that mean this is not going to resolve.
Red flag number 1, they never leave stage 1. It's been weeks and there's been zero contact, zero acknowledgement, zero movement.
That's not repair. That's a breakup that they're too conflict avoidant to actually have.
Red flag number 2, they cycle between stage 2 and 3 indefinitely. They reach out just enough to keep you around, but they never move to consistent engagement or deeper reconnection.
This is breadcrumbing. This is keeping you as an option while they figure out what they really want. And you deserve more than being someone's backup plan.
Red flag number 3, they get to stage 4, but refuse to ever have the stage 5 conversation. Anytime you try to talk about what happened, they shut down again. They get defensive. They say you're living in the past.
That is not repair. That's rug sweeping. They want the relationship without the growth. And that pattern will repeat every single time there's conflict.
Red flag number 4, they verbally apologize, but nothing changes. They say they're sorry. They say they'll do better. But the next time there's conflict, it's the exact same shutdown.
Words without behavior change aren't repair. They're just management. And you can't build a secure relationship on management.
And red flag number 5, this is a big one. When you bring up the pattern, they make you the problem. You're too sensitive. You're too needy. If you just give me space, this wouldn't happen.
That's not someone working on their avoidance. That's someone protecting their avoidance by making you responsible for their shutdown.
And here's the hard truth. If you're seeing these red flags, no amount of understanding their internal parts is going to change it, because they're not interested in change. They're interested in you accommodating their pattern.
So as painful as it is, sometimes the answer to will they come back is yes, but they'll come back exactly the same. And then you have to decide if that's something you're willing to live with. If you're experiencing any of these red flags, share your experience in the comments. It helps others in our community identify things they may be missing.
Before we get to the science section, we want you to know about the worksheet we created for this video. It helps you track which stage your avoidant is in and identify which red flags you might be seeing.
This worksheet is available to those in our Inner Circle Growth membership. That's Tier 2, where you get worksheets like this for every video, plus access to our community of people going through this exact thing.
Click the join button below to learn more. It's also a way you can support us and what we're doing here if these videos are helping you.
Now, let's talk about the neuroscience of what makes avoidant repair possible in the first place.
When an avoidant begins to move through these repair stages, what's happening is their nervous system is shifting from a dorsal vagal shutdown state back to ventral vagal, the state where social engagement is possible. But this isn't a light switch. It's more like a dimmer. The nervous system has to gradually test whether it's safe to come back online without triggering another collapse. Research on attachment and nervous system regulation shows that this process is heavily influenced by something called neuroception. That's the unconscious detection of safety or threat. For someone with avoidant attachment, their neuroception is hyper-tuned to detect threat and emotional closeness. So even when they want to reconnect, their system might still be saying danger. This is why repair happens in stages rather than all at once. Each stage is the nervous system getting more data that says it's safe to be closer. What's fascinating is that brain imaging studies show avoidants have less activation in brain regions associated with emotional processing during conflict resolution compared to secure individuals. Their system is literally dampening emotional signals to prevent overwhelm. But here's the hopeful part. Neuroplasticity research shows that with repeated positive experiences of repair, where they can stay present through discomfort without collapsing, those neural pathways can change. The key is they have to be willing to do the work of staying present through each stage, even when their system is screaming at them to shut down and run. That's how the pattern shifts. That's how repair becomes possible long-term.
So let's get to the heart of it. If you're watching your avoidant partner move through these stages or not move through them, I need you to understand something important about your role in this. At stage 1, when they're in complete shutdown, your job is to give them space, not because you're being punished and not because their feelings matter more than yours, but because pursuing them when their firefighters are activated just keeps the shutdown going. This is hard, I know. It goes against every anxious attachment instinct you have. But creating space in stage 1 isn't you doing all the work. It's you making repair possible by providing the space needed for their nervous system to settle. But here's where it shifts. Once they start moving through stages 2, 3, and 4, the work becomes theirs. Your job isn't to keep accommodating, keep waiting patiently, keep understanding their parts while your needs go unmet. At this point, you can state your needs. You can set boundaries. You can say, I need us to talk about what happened. This isn't a demand. It's a boundary, a clear statement of what you need in your relationship. And that's a huge difference. A demand sounds like, you need to talk to me right now or we're done. Now that pushes an avoidant away because it activates their firefighters again. A boundary sounds like, I need a partner who can work through conflict with me. I'm willing to give you time to process, but I can't stay in a relationship where we never address what happens between us. You're not working harder than they are. You're stating what you need and letting them decide if they're willing to meet you there. Because here's the truth. You cannot love someone out of their avoidance. You cannot be patient enough, understanding enough, accommodating enough to make them do the work of getting to stage 5 if they're not willing. Your love isn't going to transform them Beauty and the Beast style. They have to choose the work. They have to choose growth. And they have to choose to face their shame and stay present even when everything in them wants to run. And if they're not willing to do that, you're not failing them for having boundaries. You're not being impatient by expecting them to move through the stages instead of getting stuck. You deserve a partner who does their part, who recognizes when they're stuck and gets help, who moves toward repair conversations even when it's uncomfortable. So ask yourself, is your avoidant doing their work? Or are you working twice as hard to make up for the work they're refusing to do? Because if you want their healing more than they want it, and you're the only one trying to make repair happen, that's not a relationship that's healing. That's you carrying both of you while they stay exactly the same.
So those are the 5 stages of avoidant repair and the red flags that mean it's not happening.
We know this is heavy. We know it's painful to look honestly at whether your relationship is actually moving toward healing or just cycling through the same pattern. But we also know that you deserve relationships that heal and get stronger after rupture instead of just returning to baseline.
If you haven't yet signed up for our free weekly emails, you're missing out. We share relationship insights that don't make it into the videos. Sign up using the link in the description box below, and you'll receive these emails directly to your inbox every Wednesday. Think of it as your midweek boost between our Monday and Friday videos.
Subscribe and take care of your heart.
And remember, you're not alone. We're all in this
Together.